Welcome to Write the Book, Play the Game, a podcast about the business of being an author. This is our first episode, and we are so excited that you're here. Yay! I am Andrea Bartz. I am the author of 5 thriller novels, most recently The Last Fairy Out. And I'm here with Gretchen, one of my favorite people in the industry.
Hi, I'm Gretchen Schreiber. I'm the author of 2 YA novels that are both out now, maybe some other things. And I have been in and around this industry for almost 15 years, it feels like, either as in some capacity. I do work by day for Reese's Book Club, and I do not speak for the company. These are all my own opinions. Just want to clear that out of the way. So when I'm reference my time in publishing, that's what I'm referencing.
Yeah. So definitely not speaking on behalf of them, but Gretchen has tons of 360-degree views of the industry. And I actually came from magazine editing. So I was in the publishing industry for 17 plus years at this point. My God, that's a lot of years between the two of us.
I know.
And moved over to the much more stable world of book publishing. I just know how to pick them when it comes to industries. And so we both are speaking sort of from inside of the industry, but with a lot of touch points and a lot of knowledge that we want to share. And we're so excited to launch this because we felt like nobody was quite talking about the stuff that we were talking to each other about. Gretchen, you were saying how you've listened to a ton of publishing podcasts, right?
I listen to so many publishing podcasts, mostly just because I want to know everything, right? I like most authors, I think, I want to figure out the equation. What with this will get me the fancy, New York Times bestseller or whatever, or make my house love me, which that's a whole other thing we'll unpack later. And so I would listen to all these podcasts, and so often I'd be like, that's not no. I would either get so angry of you're not seeing the business side, or the things that you're yes, the publisher is shutting down your ideas because your ideas don't make sense in the context of the thing you're trying to do. Or I would listen to podcasts that would be by these huge names who got the lottery ticket, and there's not shade to them. That is their experience. They are very successful, applaud for them. But that's not where most people and most authors are going to end up on the list. And that doesn't mean you won't be successful, but it does mean that your time in the industry is going to look different.
No, that's so well put. 99% of people who want to do trad publishing, and we're here talking about, to be clear, trad publishing, that's what we know. Indie publishing is great. It's its own thing. We don't know that much about it. At least I don't.
I don't. The stuff I know about it, I'm just I could never.
Yes. Huge hats off to those doing it. We like working with the people who do this for a business because we don't want to have to learn all that stuff. But we still have to learn a lot, which again is why we're here. Because 99% of authors who dive in are going to end up in that same world of us as you have to be really involved in your publishing journey, and you have to be working with all of these people, your agent and your publishing team and your publicist and your marketing, your editor, and keeping them happy. And it's so crucial, and yet it's not very talked about. Nobody is teaching authors how to be authorpreneurs, as we're now expected to be. And so in this podcast, we are not going to talk about craft. We are not going to talk about our book recommendations. We're not going to talk about writing a delicious, wonderful novel, which of course is a huge part of, is the fundamental first kind of thing to do. But there's tons of other great content for that. And we are here to talk about that sort of invisible third leg. You need to be able to write a great book. You need to have great prose. You need to be able to figure out plotting and pacing and all of that stuff to write a really great book. And then you also need to play the game, hence the name of our podcast, and to understand how to succeed and how to make it long-term in this industry, which is not easy.
It's so much and this just came to me, a writer here, it's so much applying to college all over again. You need to be so well-rounded. Your grades and your GPA need to be great, and that's just your book. That's great. But now you have to have all this other stuff that nobody ever talks about. But I feel like, and you can back me up on this, whenever you get a group of authors in a room, this becomes the conversation of what are you doing? Did that work? How much, like, do you have the number? Like, all of this, like, triangulation of, like, is this worth, like, is the juice worth the squeeze?
Yeah.
Is like this stuff that we start talking about, because everything feels so murky and opaque.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a lot of reasoning for that. I have a lot of friends who are still in publishing, and it's always very interesting where they're like, I don't understand why this author is acting like this. And I was like, do you want me to, like, author interpret for you?
Right.
And I'd be like, here's what the author is probably hearing. And, like, to authors, I'll be like, do you want me to interpret like a business? Like,
Yeah.
my not undergrad, my graduate degree is in producing. So it's like, I got a crash course in, like, film business, and then, like, being a creative, like, like crafting a story. And so a lot of it is like, you have to have, like, one foot in the business camp and one foot in, like, I'm creatively okay. Like, and that, like, cross section is really, like, the crux of this industry, and it's so hard.
Yeah, that's such an interesting way to put it. And, like, we're monetizing art. Like, it's inherently absurd. We're not making a consumer product like toilet paper or, you know, candy bars, but, like, we kind of are, in the sense that there is a product and we put it out there in the market, and we want people to know about it, and we want it to get publicity and marketing and these other things. And we'll talk about terms soon to make sure everyone's on the same page.
Yeah.
But, like, on the one hand, we do want everyone to treat it like this is something you have to run out and get at the local bookstore, or if you're lucky, the Walmart or whatever. But then at the same time, like, it's our art and we care about it so deeply. And because it's our art, and because a lot of writers are sort of artistes, like, our publishing team doesn't always know how to talk to us about it, and they're afraid that we're going to be a little sensitive, and sometimes we are sensitive. So it's just,
sometimes we are, like, little baby. Like, I mean, sometimes I'm like, oh, yep, didn't need to know that piece of information. Thank you. No, and I think that, like, everything in a creative business, and that's what I learned in grad school, is like, you're making a creative hypothesis. Like, you're trying to look at culture and go, okay, I see this, and I see this, and I see how this piece, like this movie or this book, fits in, and hopefully we can pull that audience that likes these things, they'll like this thing.
yeah.
But the reality is, that's like throwing spaghetti at the wall. And that's literally the business we're in. Like, and there's no better, like, if anybody, like, everyone always, I think online is always like, well, publishing can make a bestseller if they really want to. And I was like, guys, publishing is a business. They want to make money. We are in a capitalist society. That is a whole other podcast if you want to tear that down. That's not for here. But, like, if publishing knew how to make a bestseller every time, they would.
Right.
And that's, like, really hard to hear as an author, because you're like, sometimes things just don't hit. And you can't, there's no data, or there's no seemingly reasonable explanation for why.
Right. It's like, there's only a certain number of levers that anyone can pull, and some of it is magic in the right place at the right time, and you happen to have the right idea, 3 years before it actually came out, and that's stuff we can't control. And that can be so, I don't know, demoralizing if you see it that way, as like, I don't have any power. But then it can also be kind of empowering, in a sense, if you're like, okay, like, I can't control the outcome, so what are the levers I do have? What are the things that I can do as an author to ensure, to sort of, like, dud proof my career? Even if a book doesn't do well, my career will not end with that. And that's what this podcast is, I think, hopefully going to be about, right?
Yeah, like, this is about how do you work with your teams? What are the things you're doing for your career? Like, I just had this whole conversation with a friend, because this year I've been doing an experiment with going to Comic-Cons, which I think I pitched as, like, us doing a whole episode on, but, like, of just, like, here's why I took that experiment on, and I didn't even approach my publishing team about it. Like, why I didn't even go, hey, do you guys want to fly me out here? Or do you want to pay for my hotels? Because I was like, I understand that the return on investment for me is bigger and different than the return on investment for them, which is literally going to just be sales.
Right.
And that's fine. But, like, I can still get something from that. And that's how you have to like start processing decisions you make as an author, is like,
Right.
what is going to get me the return on investment? Is the return on investment just bigger for me, or is there a bigger stake for my publisher? And if there is, here's how I build the argument to my publisher of why you should come in and like pay for this, or like come in with me and do something where it's like, together we're going to be great.
Right. Absolutely. It's like, when am I asking for forgiveness versus asking for permission, right? Like, how do I do that math of like what's going to be worth the ROI? Because you're totally right. For your publisher, like, number of books sold is going to be their metric that they keep coming back to. And like, going to Comic-Con probably did not move the needle in a significant way by that metric, right?
Correct. Like those metrics, like I think, example, last week, so I just got back from a Comic-Con, I sold probably 10 books across like 3 days of a con. That is like, my publisher is not getting out of bed for under like 100 sales. Like literally, like it's got to be 100 sales minimum before they're like, come talk to me, come do this thing. And that, like, that's not shade to them, that's business,
right?
Like, and I get that. But for me, it was, I met like really big authors who like I got to have really good conversations with. They're now in my network. Like, I became friends with them. I met booksellers, like I met fans and handed out like, God, the number of like free things that you can hand out at any event is going to be like my number one thing. Like, write it off, find a cheap printer, and like have like QR code everything, and nothing should have a hard date on it. But like, it's like that kind of stuff of like, this is like like this is author networking almost. And like, coming out of like the film industry is like, networking is a very big thing, but you never expect your day job to pay for your networking drinks. That's something you do for your own career advancement. And that's like, I think we're trying to draw the line between like, here's how you interact with your publisher, and here's how you do the things that you can do by yourself. Right. And I have two things, because again, we don't want to indie publish, because that's really, like, everything is now you.
Right.
I mean, like, I don't know. I was like, I feel that was a really long rant, but I was like, here's all the things. This is what I've learned. It's like so much like, I don't begrudge my publisher for a lot of this, because I'm like, I get it. You guys want money, and that's fine. That's why we're here.
Yeah, I think that's a really important distinction we want to make too, is like, none of this should be read as like us, I don't know, speaking ill of our publishers. We both love our publishers and are very happy to be working with them. This is not about villainizing anyone. This is about finding that line of like, what can you do to work with your publisher to promote books, and what can you do often on your own or in tandem with them to promote your author brand. And like, yes, you can recoil at the word brand, but like, get over it. Like, companies are people. Companies have more rights than humans right now. Like, you are a brand if you are an author. That's just a reality. And go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, if you can demonstrate too to your author, like, your publisher is going to be delighted that you are out there. Like, I am sure that nobody was like, you know, that was silly of you to be at that Comic-Con. Like, if you're willing to be an author who is going to keep showing up, keep having a positive attitude, keep volunteering for stuff, keep growing that author community, keep coming to them like, oh my God, I just met this amazing person at a networking event. Can you send them a copy? Da, da, da. They're going to love that. There's nothing but positive vibes about that. So like, we shouldn't be afraid to keep in mind that no one is going to care about your books, and especially no one's going to care about your author brand as much as you. And so it's sort of on you to figure out how to build that up so that you can have a sustainable career and not just an individual book deal and then you're on your own.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, it's, and so much of it is like, I mean, I think we're both from like marginalized communities, but like, I understand that, like, we all both understand that publishing is not always fair based on a variety of factors. And this is no way to say that like, it is fair if you play it this way. This is more of just like, here's how you can survive without losing your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And like, here's how you can level set expectations. Yes. Like, one of the biggest things, at my day job, we had a culture coach, and she came in, and like, one of the first things she said was that like, most conflict arises out of a missetting or misunderstanding of expectations between people, of like, your expectation is here and their expectation is here, and now you're in conflict, but you all didn't even know that you needed to be like together. And I think that is like the crux of the like disconnect in publishing, is that like we have these expectations, here is publishing's expectations, and trying to get more in line with your team. And I think it's something you mentioned, like be a team player, like how like you get to lean in now. Like I say I like to call publishing a big group project, and it's just like high school. Like if you were anything like, I'm gonna guess you and I, we were the ones doing 80% of the work. And everyone else, like the other like 4 people in our group, were like, here's, I showed up. Like, and that's, and again, zero shade, but like that's kind of what publishing is you as an author are going to do 80% of the work because you got to write the book. But like it still means that there's like you've got to like still come to the table to put the whole project together at the end of the day, even if the other like 4 people in the room are only doing 20%. Like you all sit at the same table.
Yeah, absolutely. And like it's going to be your name on the your name on the book at the end. And like you want, right? You want it to be the best possible launch and career for you, and framing and marketing and all these different things that it possibly can be. So like, yeah, just knowing going in, like making it, like we want to have those conversations for the benefit of all authors, whether they're, pre-publication working on their first book, or whether you're have a book out there or several books out there, or a publishing deal and it's, coming down, your debut is coming down the line. Like your publishing team is not going to hand you a manual, as helpful as that would be. And so much of this is subtext, right? So much of this is politics. Again, write the book, play the game. Like, how do I deal with, what do I go to my agent for versus what do I deal with on my own versus what do I go directly to my editor? There's just so much that like it took us a while to figure out. And, not everyone even has this, not everyone has necessarily people they can talk to about this, which another episode we'll be talking about building up your author community, because that's so crucial. But we just really wanted to make this podcast that was going to be super candid and super from the trenches and super like grounded in our own reality. And for us, like being very open about our rejections and what felt like failures and our learnings and the that kind of stuff. So that everyone really feels like we're in this together, which is totally the case. I find the author community to be, luckily pretty great about like the rising tide lifts all boats, and we really want one another to succeed because that's good for the industry, that's good for everyone. And so that's kind of what we're trying to do here and what we hope to do.
And I think, and you see a different side of the industry. I have yet to meet somebody in this industry who doesn't have a passion for what they do and really love what they do. Like there is no one. I think sometimes online you get this idea that there's just somebody, there's like big daddy publishing like sitting at the top with like a check button that's like, you get a career and you don't get a career and you get a, like that there's somehow like something very soulless about it. And I think the one thing I hope we can all, like, at the end of this podcast, maybe have a little bit more compassion for each other of like, I hope publishing people listen and they can hear like what we're trying to say as authors of like, this is where we feel. But I also hope that authors can get out of this of like, publishing is also like a business, but they're also people and they have feelings too. Mm-hmm. Like, and they care so much. And sometimes there's only so much they can do because of business decisions that can feel really hard.
Yeah.
And like, how do we like both like be like, hold them accountable of like, I hear you, I'm still gonna push. And by I'm gonna push, I mean my agent is gonna push.
I'm gonna push my agent to push.
Yeah, like the agent is the designated bad guy was like the number one.
They're your bad cop.
Yeah, they're the bad cop. I don't know what's going on. I'm innocent.
No, exactly. But no, that is such a great point that like it can all feel impersonal. It can all feel impossible. And certainly too, like there's corners of the internet where the advice flying around, I'm thinking of Threads, like
Threads is like
some of the advice that I see on it. I'm like, don't do that. Please don't ever do that.
Like, don't do that. No, that's bad. Your publisher will hate you. Like, and I've heard horror stories of people who act on that information to their publisher, and then their publisher reacts. Like, again, sometimes I'm like, okay, write your email, like give it a couple hours, come back and read it as if you're on the receiving end of that email.
Yes.
and be
We
like,
all exercise,
okay,
we're all empaths, right? That's why we're fiction
yeah.
writers. We got to put ourselves in other shoes.
And if there's something, and I would say this because I've done this, I've definitely done this. Even when I do that, and I'm like, okay, this is a firm email. I'm gonna send it to my agent first and be like, do you want me to send this email or do you want to send this email? And she'll be like,
Mm-hmm.
it's my email to send. Be right back.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be like,
Mm-hmm.
great, you know.
Yeah.
But
That too.
like,
Like who's hitting this? Yeah.
because it's gonna get hit.
It's coming.
But again, like it's something that I think we're trying to like demystify as like people. I would call us, and I don't say this with shade, like we're here but we're hopefully not going to stay here, of like we're midlist people, right? Like we are strong, we have like continuous contracts, we're doing okay, like in this business we're earning a fair amount of, like I would say fair amount of money in that, like, you know, as like a mid-level employee. Those are where my contracts are usually, like, you know, I'm not a CEO here like making life-changing money, but I'm also not like
Right.
an assistant being like, I guess I live on ramen.
Yeah. Yeah. Mid list, like middle manager level.
Yeah, like we are the middle manager. Good lord, so many metaphors.
Just mixing them all up.
Mix them. Just, can you tell we're writers? But like it's possible to have a career, and half of having a career, again, I learned this from my film industry stuff, is being easy to work with, leaning in, turning their stuff in on time, and doing your best with that like stuff. I mean, then it was like, you know, whatever you're doing in the film industry, but like with us, like turning in the best book you can.
Yeah.
And hitting those deadlines and like being like, here are those deadlines that I'm doing. Like, and 9 times out of 10, if it comes down to like sitting on the fence with you of like whether or not you're going to get another contract, they'll at least offer, in my experience, the salts as you will, like they will offer you another contract because you're easy to work with. And this industry is so tough. Like creative fields are so hard.
Right. 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 And if your
Like,
publishing team loves working with you, this is a human industry that runs on vibes, which also we will talk about more in
oh yeah.
future episodes. But like it's running on vibes, and one of those vibes is like, do we want to keep working with this author?
Yeah. One of those vibes is
Are they
you.
worth
Are you
are
a
they worth
vibe? Are you, which I think we're both, is the reason why we're both like, no, we actually genuinely like our publishing teams. Like we're like, we're not here, like we don't want the vibes to change. We're still good vibes.
Yes. Nothing but good
Like,
vibes. We have cultivated our like nice little professional relationships, which also have elements of friendship, which have sometimes elements of like boundaries. You're like, is it weird that I'm becoming friends with this person that I'm also like all of that is true, is part of the confusing morass that is publishing. But like at the end of the day, if you are constantly going back to the litmus test of like what's the way to act with kindness, to advocate for myself, but to still be an easy author, that will be the right move. That will be the move that we suggest 99 times out of 100.
I mean, yeah, I think even like a personal experience that I've had, I was doing something, we were talking about a marketing plan, and my agent was like, why don't you brainstorm some ideas of what you would want? And I was like, okay, cool. I need you to give me some guidelines because I realized like I don't want to go in asking for like a 6-figure marketing plan. Would I love to be able to go in and be like, okay, here we go. Here's my like 5-city tour idea. Here's my like influencer box idea. But like, I'm like, I know that's not where this book is sitting right now within the house. And that's fine. That's fine. But like, what are ideas that I can come up with that they're going to go, oh, that's actually doable. And that's
Yeah.
a really good idea, you know? And so like, it's sometimes knowing when do I dream and hit big, and when do I say like, again, I'm going to play the game, here's where I am.
Right.
How do I
Right.
like hit 1,000 in the like junior league, the league under the MLB, like again, too many
minor leagues. Batting 1,000 in a minor league. Sport analogies are not going to be our strong suit. But no, that's exactly it. And like, yeah, we're talking to everyone who's around our level of like, you know, this is a real thing. You have a real publisher. Your editor is excited. Remember, like they didn't offer you this book contract as a favor. They bought this book. Their whole team signed on. They had to like send that manuscript up the flagpole and have their whole kind of department agree that this is a book that they should invest in and put out. And then, right, we start going through this process of having our meetings and realizing like, okay, I'm not going to get the like Emily Henry treatment. That's fine. But how much power do I have? And I think that's a really good example of like, how do I come into this meeting with the right level of, of ideas, of sense of importance, of like.
Yeah. I mean, it used to be, again, I have a lot of film industry like examples because that was where all my business class was. But like in some studios, you would go in for your marketing meeting, and if you were going to a certain floor, you'd be like, oh, my marketing is like the top level marketing. And if you were going to a different floor, you'd be like, we are getting no marketing. This is gonna be hard. Yeah. And I was like, I'm like, nope. I need to know the like, and again, it's all fine. I don't know why I keep saying that. Like, but like, it's important, I think, to know those things so that, again, I can show up as my best self, and I'm not showing up as like a sullen, angry person with like, well, why am I not Emily Henry? I think I'm just as good as Emily Henry. I mean, I'm not, but yet is my new favorite word. I'm not there yet.
I love it. I love that. And you are great, and your books are great. But no, I get that. And like, yeah, I had an instance recently where my marketing person left, and the new marketing person I was assigned was a lower, rank. They were just younger and newer. And that is like one of those sort of tells of like, okay, well, you don't, if I don't think Emily Henry is getting somebody lower on the flagpole, but then I have to say he was fantastic and I loved working with him and we had a great working relationship. And so like none of these things mean like realizing you're not Emily Henry. I keep using her, like we adore her and she seems like a great person.
She's fantastic.
Like I'm glad that if it's going to be someone, it's her. She's great. But like,
I would also say just like one interjection, sorry, and then I'll let you finish your story. One interjection about Emily Henry, which I think is really interesting that everyone forgets, is Emily Henry put out like 3 or 4 books before Beach Read, before she switched categories, and like switching to adult romance was kind of a revamp of her career. That was she was us. She was middle management, and she went, had an idea, and it hit at the right time.
And it hit at the right time. I mean, look at Laura Dave. That was her 5th book. I mean, even Gillian Flynn, like royalty in my genre. Gone Girl was her 3rd book. Her first 2 were like right in the middle like us. And, she just kept writing great books. And
even you with like
We Were Never Here.
Yeah, We Were Never Here. 3rd book. This is book club book pick. We Were Never Here.
Yeah, that is true. And that was like the one that launched me into a different track in publishing, though I am still in Midwest with the vast majority, but like did change things.
Now. You're top middle management.
Top middle management. I'm like a white man in the 90s who just kept failing up.
But anyway, back to the story. I was like, just for example, Emily Henry still built a career by being really good and then pivoting at the right time.
No, that's true. So we all, like, while we're hanging out together in the mid list, here's everything you can do. And then once you get shunted, dear listener, to the Emily Henry levels, like, you should make a podcast because I want to hear what it's like when you get to.
Yeah, and how did you get there? Like,
very differently.
And I think if anything, it's continue to write. Like you have, like, it's always about, and when you've exhausted all things, I'm sure at some point there was a I have no idea. I don't know Emily Henry's backstory or her conversations with her agent, but I'm sure there was probably some conversation with Emily and her agent that was like, hey, we might want to think about a pivot. Do you have anything else that's outside of the category you sort of already sold in?
Yeah.
And she went, yeah, here.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the logistics of this podcast before wrapping up this first episode. This is sort of our overview. So soon we'll be going into juicier stuff and getting really specific and quite candid. As both of us, you might have noticed, both of us are quite unfiltered, sometimes to the chagrin of people around us. But we are super excited. This is going to be one relatively short season. We're going to offer at least our first few episodes freely. We're planning to release them weekly. And if there's interest in supporting them, we'll consider offering bonus content for paid subscribers down the road. That might look like a live, an AMA kind of live between us, bonus episodes. We're not sure yet. So, let us know what interests you and what kind of stuff you would like to see. And in the meantime, we just wanted to sort of hit on some of the topics that we will be covering in the coming episodes. I mean, we'll be going a lot deeper on a lot of the stuff we talked about today. Today was sort of like, here's the problem. Like, we need to learn, authors, including ourselves, need to learn how to play the game. And so the plan is for our season to sort of become a how-to of how to actually do that. So Gretchen, you want to talk about some of the topics that we have coming down the pike?
Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, I think the biggest thing you might have like heard us reference a lot was, why does the industry run on vibes? And that is like, I think our outline for that episode is probably going to end up being like 2 episodes long at this point, but like super excited for that one. What is your agent's job? And what is that relationship looking like? Because I think so often we're like, oh, they finally picked me. And then everyone is afraid to like email their agent when they have questions. And you're now in a business relationship with them. Building an author community. How do you find that elusive group chat that everyone on Threads is always telling you to go talk to? The authorpreneur, how to not lose your mind. Here are the things that we figured out. Have we figured out?
Sharing out, yes. Sharing what we do know. Begging for help from you guys. What is working for you?
Yeah, like approaching your own marketing and PR. When it's time to call in reinforcements. My favorite one, if you haven't noticed, I love a business conversation. So getting technical, why you should absolutely 100% read your contracts. My favorite clause to always find is the including acts of God.
We bring God into it. Like God comes into God entered the chat.
Yeah, like it's my favorite thing, mostly because like E.M. Forster like only wrote 2 novels, because the second one, like the warehouse caught on fire and like burned all the copies, and he had to go get a day job, and he never wrote another novel because of it. So now like it's included in like acts of God, like is why like when they talk about distribution, it's like da 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 and acts of God. Anyway,
oh my God.
Contracting.
I'm like, how did he not write a memoir or something or turn that into a thriller? Like my mind goes to like, that is gold. That is real life gold right there.
Yeah. And then another one, like just like when to invest in yourself, how to experiment wisely, how to like set your own return on investment. What is your hypothesis you're testing? Data collection and examination, like how to determine what success is for yourself.
Looking for that ROI. So we think a bit like scientists, or like, entrepreneurs, I guess would maybe be another way to think of it. But like, yeah, we're in this wild industry where you're putting out a product and it feels like everything is riding on it. Everything's not actually riding on it, but it feels like everything's riding on it. But you only put out a product every year, sometimes 2 years. And you have pitched it years ago, and then it's sort of stuck in space. So it's like a consumer usable product, but it's also completely different. And so like, how can we take some of that entrepreneur mindset of like figuring out what people want, what we can invest in, how we can figure out what our readers are hungry for and what the market is hungry for and what our publishing team wants us to do and all that stuff, and how can we like use that to guide our career in a way that makes us feel like we're not robots and we're not just like writing to the market, which is impossible to do anyway, but to just be really strategic about the decisions that we're making, whether it's, do I go to this, Comic-Con or not, all the way down to like, what should my next book be, and like who should I listen to, and like listening to your heart versus listening to your agent. It's like, it's been a tough one for me.
There are so many times I feel like I'm always like, I'm a person with like multiple ideas all the time. So I'm like, here are all the ideas. And my agent is like, which do you love the most? And I was like, this is a you question. You tell me which you can sell the most.
That's so funny, because I'm the same way, where I'm kind of envious of the authors who are like, yeah, I only have one idea at a time, and I just know that that's what I need to write next, and I need to get it out of me. I think because I was a magazine editor, like I too I can pitch, I can give you 10 ideas right now. Like, I don't know, I can just shoot them out. And so I did a similar thing where I was like, I don't know, here's 6 ideas. And my agent was like, but do you want to write any of these? And I was like, here's 6 ideas.
I mean, God, we're opening up a topic. I feel like someone should write this down, because this is obviously for the agent conversation. But like, yeah, it's like, I can be attached to any of these ideas with the right paycheck.
I can follow them up with any idea. So if you can't tell, we see ourselves as as authors who like do this for work and do it also because we love it. But I don't think either of us sees ourselves as quite artistes. And if you do see yourself that way, that's great. Maybe there's still something for you to learn here, but like this might not be the podcast for you.
It's like art. It's like I said at the beginning of like any big creative field, it is art and commerce, and you have to have like one foot in both.
Yes.
And I think we're very much trying to sit squarely in that of like we love what we do, we believe in what we're writing, and we are artists in that way, but we're also like mama's got to pay rent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We cannot pay rent off of nice reviews in journals that no one's reading.
And vibes. Despite the fact that our industry runs on vibes.
Well, okay, before we wrap up our first episode, I'm totally hitting you out of nowhere with this, but
yeah.
Earlier when you were talking about how we're sort of treated with kid gloves, but then sometimes when we're not, we wish we were being treated with, little kid gloves, and that line is a tricky one of wanting the truth, but sometimes we can't handle the truth. And when you were talking about that, you said, oh, there's some things that I've been like, oh, didn't need to hear that myself. And I thought, because this is going to be a very, candid and open-hearted podcast, maybe we can each share a line that is forever stuck in our minds that someone on our team told us, if we're comfortable. Again, we did not prepare this at all, but I can start with mine because I definitely have one in mind.
I'm like trying to think of it. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, okay. We Were Never Here was part of a 2-book contract. It was the beginning of a 2-book contract. And so at the time I was publishing pretty quickly, one a year. And so by the time We Were Never Here came out, I already had a complete draft of my next book, which is The Spare Room. And The Spare Room is quite different from We Were Never Here. It's queer, it's domestic suspense instead of a thriller. It's kind of spicy. There's a poly relationship. And I am very proud of it, but I think We Were Never Here exposed me to, more readers than we were anticipating. And then I think a lot of them got sort of some whiplash of like going from that to this next book. And so I do completely understand where she's coming from, and I don't even disagree. But my editor said, yeah, if we had known what We Were Never Here was going to do, we wouldn't have approved The Spare Room as your next book. And that was a line that don't even disagree, but will be stuck in just tattooed in my cerebrum forever.
You're never getting that. You're never getting that line out.
Never scrubbing that out of my ears. That one's in there forever. So that's mine. Do you have one to share?
I think one that's not even necessarily from my pub team, which then I was like, well, I know why you didn't send this to me. Gretchen, you're a dumb for looking it up. So Kirkus reviewed my second book, and you know how like in every Kirkus review they have like a little pull quote at the top, and it said the pull quote that they pulled was disappointingly underdeveloped, and I just was like in my brain, like also like it just lives in my head rent free.
I could sit here and recite by heart some of my bad reviews, some of my bad trade reviews too. So you're not alone in that. And we both still have careers.
We both have more projects in the bin.
The random Kirkus reviewer who probably doesn't even like your genre, who was paid $150 to read your book, was not required to finish it, and then published this in a trade magazine that only a few thousand people maybe even receive, did not ruin your career.
It's like one of those things that you learn like about trade reviews of like they matter when they're good and they're like starred, and at any other point other than those like 2 points, no one gives a shit. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's so weird because you see so many people be like, this is my glowing trade review, this is my glowing thing, and it's like disappointingly underdeveloped, and you're like, oh, and you're like, oh, but nobody gives a shit.
But no one's that's not, they're not going to put that on your book.
But yeah, like there are more books, there are more things. You are more than one bad review.
You are so much more than any one bad review. But you know what? We're going to talk about part of developing that tough skin so you can make it in this industry too.
Oh,
That's
yes.
like, it's what we're here for. Like you
Yeah.
are a business person,
As
and
a
that's how you're
debut,
going
it
to make it as an
definitely would have
author.
like flat out ended me, and I had been like, I gotta go, agent, I'm done. Like, cancel the rest of the contract if I need to give the money back, because again, I read my contract.
No, it's true. If either of us had like actually thrown in the towel when we wanted to throw in the towel at various points over the years, like we wouldn't be here. And that is again the difference between like the author who has one beautiful book in them and then, shrinks away into oblivion versus the person who has a career. Because you're gonna get rejected and you're gonna have these horrible, hurtful things happen, and you're gonna get tagged in mean reviews, and this is gonna happen, and you're not gonna get this thing you want, and someone else you love is gonna get it, and someone you hate is gonna get it. All these things are true.
And you're gonna
And
pivot, and you're gonna redo and like it's a ride. Welcome to the roller coaster. Yet another metaphor.
welcome to the roller coaster. Well, that feels like a great note to end our
Yes.
first episode on. So yeah, tune in. We'll be releasing these weekly, and we can't wait for you all to hop on the ride with us.
Yeah.
All right, have a good one. Bye, friends.
Bye, friends.